Good evening. I would like to call to order the Kaiser City Council in regular session. It is Monday, October 4th, 2021, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Kohler?
Here.
Councilor Reed?
Here.
Councilor Herrera?
Here.
Mayor Clark?
Here.
Council President Smith?
Here.
Councilor Day?
Here.
Councilor Duran?
Here.
And Youth Councilor Coleman?
Here. Thank you very much. If you are able, I'd ask you to please rise, and would you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. It is now a pleasure to start with our first special orders of business, and that is the oath of office for Kaiser Police Officer Nate Smith. Mr. Wood?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the Chief of Police, John Teague.
Yeah, I'm delighted to introduce to you Nate Smith. He's a recent hire, started with us the middle of September, comes from Woodburn PD, has 5.5 years of experience, has deep roots in the Salem area, graduate of Corbin University, brought some of his family here, and Shannon's going to swear him in.
Thank you, Chief. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Nate Smith,
I, Nate Smith,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States of America
the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the laws thereof
and the laws thereof
and the laws and ordinances
and the laws and ordinances
of the City of Kaiser,
of the City of Kaiser,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of a law enforcement officer
of a law enforcement officer
in and for the City of Kaiser,
in and for the City of Kaiser,
State of Oregon,
State of Oregon,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
This is a tradition I was glad we could return to.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome, Officer Smith.
Congratulations, welcome. And Officer Smith, would you do us a favor and go to the microphone up there? If you have family and friends you would like to introduce who are with you here tonight, the microphone's over there so the people at home can hear what you're saying. Yes, please.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in the back.
you have to go on the other side.
Just have them come stand up here.
There we go. We got some great pictures. If you'd like to introduce your family and friends, it would be wonderful, because we know that this office does not include just the one individual working for the people of Kaiser, but it is truly a family and support network that allows you to do the job that you have taken the oath to do. So if you would introduce your family and friends.
So, in the middle here with the lemon mask, this is my wife, Christina. I have my sister and brother-in-law, Val and Tony, and then mother-in-law and her husband, and then two little nephews here. On the TV, I have family in San Diego that's watching. 'Cause all my
Awesome.
Yes. If you want a good family picture.
All right, say Kaiser's the best.
Well, thank you all for being here to support Officer Smith, and thank you for applying to join the police force here, and we look forward to you being here serving our community for many years to come. Thank you so much. Officer Smith.
Good.
Also tonight, yeah, it does have a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Council President Smith.
Just saying,
No relation, right?
I really like that. Officer Smith.
Yeah. Also tonight, under special orders of business, we have a proclamation for the month of October. and it goes as follows. Whereas October 2021 marks the 76th anniversary of the National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and whereas the purpose of National Disability Employment Awareness Month is to educate about disability employment issues and celebrate the significant and varied contributions of America's workers with disabilities. And whereas the history of National Disability Employment Awareness Month traces back to 1945 when Congress enacted a law declaring the first week in October each year National Employ the Physically Handicapped Week. And whereas in 1962 the word physically was removed to acknowledge and include the employment needs and contributions of people with all types of disabilities. And whereas in 1988 Congress expanded the week to a month and changed the name to National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And whereas workplaces welcoming the talents of all people, including people with disabilities, through active efforts in recruitment, hiring, retention, and advancement are a critical part of our efforts to build an inclusive community and strong economy. And whereas activities during this month will reinforce the value and talent with people with disabilities add to our workplaces and communities, and affirm Kaiser's commitment to an inclusive community that increases access and opportunities to all, including individuals with disabilities. Now, therefore, I, Kathy Clark, Mayor of the City of Keizer, together with the Keizer City Council assembled in regular session, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2021 as National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and call upon employers, schools, and other community organizations to work together to promote and expand employment of the talent and skills that people with disabilities possess to achieve full opportunity, participation, economic self-sufficiency, and independent living for people with disabilities. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Kaiser be herein affixed this 4th day of October, 2021. This will be on display here for the month of October, but we know that the work continues year-round, and we have many partners right here in the city, county, and the state working to increase opportunities for people with all abilities to achieve their maximum potential and contribution to the economy and our community. So thank you all very much, and if you want more information, there's some great websites, and we will try to link some of those in this month. And that will conclude our special orders of business for this evening. Committee reports, we have 3 committee reports tonight, and we're going to start off with an Art Commission report, and our former mayor, Lori Christopher. Always good to see you, ma'am.
Thanks so much. My name is Lori Christopher, and I reside in Kaiser. Madam Mayor, City Councilors, and City staff, here's my report, and it's such a good one. It's so nice to give fun, positive things, and I have 9 things to share with you. So first off, there is a new art show in the art gallery. It is Gary Hasla's. I'm sorry, Gary, if you're watching. I can't remember how we're supposed to pronounce that. But anyway, really good. And he fills the gallery. He was most recently featured at the Silverton art show in August. And so we weren't sure how many pieces we were going to get, but it's a really good showing, so you can enjoy that. And now that we're having more people in the building, that's going to give really wonderful exposure to our local artists, and that's what we're in the business of doing. So that's number 1. Number 2, our mural graffiti coating update. So every 5 years, we have to coat the murals that we have in town with graffiti paint. And so I have a member of the team with me tonight. And it has been... We all serve, Kathy. We all serve.
And such a we're all told.
He and Randy Miller, who were the team that did it 5 years ago, we have it ready to go, except it's raining tomorrow, so it looks like Wednesday's our day. So you may see them out tomorrow on Wednesday getting our murals recoated. And Iron Glory update. So you may remember the Iron Glory, it was a flag that was in front of Copper Creek Mercantile, and that's been replaced by the new sculpture, Entwined. And so, and that was at the request of the artist, because he wanted to revamp Iron Glory, which is a popular piece. People really like it. So the KPAC decided that a perfect location for that would be the bare lot that is in front of V2 Dentistry adjacent to the church. I can't remember the side street. Anyway.
Judas.
Excuse me?
Juarez or Judas?
Judas?
Yeah, thanks. And so I spoke with the dentist who owns that lot. He's thrilled to have public art on his land, and so we'll be placing a pad. Bill Lawyer and Kim Steen, who is our chair of KPAC, will be meeting him out there on Friday to set the location. We'll probably put the pad in fairly soon, just as a placeholder. Iron Glory won't be able to return to us for about 4 to 6 months. So I think that probably early spring of next year, we'll reinstall that at that location. And it's gonna look terrific in that location. I'm excited about it. Utility box art approval. We've been working with Enrique Sepulveda, and we have a design that that KPAC really likes. He has to do a little more work before it comes to you to show you, but it's irises, and they're kind of, I will call them urban irises, which is kind of the look we want. We want something, really that is going to be appealing in an urban-like setting, and so we're kind of excited about that, and that should be coming up. It probably, again, won't be installed. We've had a banner 2021 getting art up and out, so now we'll look forward till the next dry period. So all of this stuff is probably coming May through September of next year. Exciting news on our master plan approval. It's ready to be approved. The member who has finished that up for us, Andy Madison, was not at our last meeting, and we want her to be able to present it to KPAC for approval, and then of course it's coming to you. It gives us a 10-year window on on the art that we're planning to add to the city, and so and that's really helped direct us, and that's why we've had such a great 2021. We've had so many projects. We now know where we're going, and so it's amazing when you set goals how you can accomplish them. So look forward to the master plan coming to you. Probably could be November, might be December, and okay, and the next is Rosalie's Cows. And Rosalie's Cows, you approved us to put art in the roundabout. This is going to be great. We have an RFP out there right now. We've had 2 artists definitely interested. We've seen a couple of designs that are fabulous and really different from some of the art that we've already had. You're going to love them. And so they have until December 31st to get all of those ideas into us, and then KPAC will decide which one we're going to go with, and if we have to fundraise or if we have to get donations. We have such a loving and giving community that I tell you, it's hard to get a no. It really is, because people love living in Kaiser, and they love that we're turning into a more art community, and it really reflects who we are. And so anyway, we're very excited about that. You'll know more in probably maybe 6 months. We'll come back to you and show you the final design, but we're giddy. Okay, number 7, DDA, you guys approved the site of having a mosaic around the fountain. So now one of our team members is Michelle.
Roland Schwartz?
Yes,
Yep.
thank you. And she is going to start looking and working on grants. There are a lot of grants out there right now. And to get that work completed entirely is $11,000. So we're going to start to work towards that. We don't know if we can get that in one fell swoop or if we're going to have to piecemeal it, but we are committed and we like that mosaic, and we're going to execute it. And you guys know us. If we say we're going to do it, we're going to do it. Insta art popularity. So the Insta art that's down by the big toy, we have a butterfly, we have a ladybug, and we have a dragon. And the little kids, we're killing it. They love having their pictures taken there. But more than that, they love Sasquatch. So we have picture after picture of people in front of Sasquatch in the park. That was such a great decision by KPAC to put that Insta Art work in that park. We have more Insta Art coming to River Road, but I'm not going to tell you about that today. We had the dedication on October 18th. We had the dedication of the story poles, and that was fun. And then we got to open the library, and now the Kaiser Cultural Center is open again with it real open, like with people coming in. And theater is resuming, the museum is resuming. It's been completely painted on the inside and out. We had a legacy donation from a former Rotarian. I'm sure many of you know John Jenkins. John Jenkins left the Kaiser Heritage Foundation $36,000.
Wow.
I'll let that sink in. For a small nonprofit organization that is, well, it's paint in the inside of the building. So the building had not been painted for 20 years on the inside. We were going to piecemeal it and do it a little bit at a time. That enabled us to paint the entire building and also put in carpeting in the public spaces. Thank you, John. Thank you. And so, the dedication of the story poles. I wanted to thank the mayor for attending and for giving us your blessing, but also I wanted to thank the tribes. The tribes were there and they blessed the story poles. There's been a little fluff up, about did we engage the tribes and should we? We absolutely 100% engaged the tribes. We have a wonderful working relationship with the tribes, and they helped us along, all the way along. They're the ones that said, if we do it, we cut the trees, we do it horizontally, and the trees have to dry for 5 years. We're not sure how that's going to fit in with your timeline. We're in support of this. We don't own the concept of story poles. They're not totem poles. Totem poles have a religious connotation to them. So we're always really clear when we talk about it, that these are story poles depicting a part of our history and certainly a part of the Kaiser culture. So they came, they blessed our story poles, and I just wanted to put that out there to say, look, we're inclusive. We want art from everywhere, and we want lots of it, and we want to put it everywhere. So if anybody is listening and has an idea for public art in our city, we encourage you to come to Kaiser Public Arts Commission. Any one of the members will hold your hand, we'll guide you through it, and we'll help you put art in our community. The end. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor Christopher, thank you for coming and giving the report. Dennis said we had to have cows in that circle.
Well, we don't have to have cows in that circle. However,
that's what Dennis said.
We want to have cows in that circle. It's honoring the Heber-Moore family who farmed that land. She was a member emeritus to the Kaiser Parks and Recreation Board. I used to drive Rosalie there every month. And so we don't have to have cows there. We choose to have cows there. And they're gonna be great. Oh yeah.
So awesome.
Councilor Day.
Thank you, Mayor Christopher. I really appreciate your report. I just had a question about the master plan. Is the painting of the skate park included in there?
It is, I'm not sure. I don't know, Counselor.
Okay.
But you know what, I'll check on that. And that's gonna be, it's a draft, so it's coming to you in draft form. So anything we forgot, we're going to look to you for your guidance. And if you want it in there, we'll put it in there. Mm-hmm. Like I said, we want more art everywhere we can get it.
Great, excellent.
Any other questions on the Arts Commission? Really excited about the skate park and the urban art. And did the artist that I talked with from the, it was Fire Out West. It was the event at Volcano Stadium. I called you about the big murals. Did they ever get a hold of you?
They have not yet.
Okay, and me either, but I'm hoping that they will soon because the art I saw out there was absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Well, let's get some.
Yeah. definitely want to. So I'll reach back out to Omar Alvarez and see if I can get the contact information from him. He didn't respond to my last email, but I'll try again.
You know, it's really hard to tip the scales and make a community an art community, but all of us feel that we're really close to tipping the scales. As we continue to put this public art pieces and people continue to get excited about them and enjoy them, that's what we want to do. We want to engage people where they are, make art free for them, and tell the story of who we are as a community. So we really appreciate your support. I will tell you, as we continue to get more art, we may have to increase our budget a little bit because we have to maintain the art, and we want to maintain the art. We're not going to put something up and then just let it go. So that may impact our budgets in future years, but that's not today. And today, we're just thankful for your support of public art in Kaiser. And I just want to thank all of you. You know, I know how hard you work and how much work is not seen. When you come to city council and you're here for a couple hours, you make it look easy, and it's not, and I know it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, Ron Christopher, for being voluntold to put on the mural coating. Former first dude of Kaiser. All right. Next up, we have the traffic safety bike ped report from Mike DeBlasi.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, councilors, staff. I don't think I could match that level of energy.
None of us can.
So I'm here to give a report on the last Kaiser Traffic Safety Bike Ped Committee meeting. To start off, we had some interested citizens who came in to talk about a topic that wasn't on the agenda, although that ended up being a discussion that was further in the agenda. It was about getting some of the ARPA funds for safety improvements, such as pedestrian islands. Councilor Day had mentioned that the funds need to be allocated by 2024 and spent by 2026. So there's a little window where we can really start working on developing some projects. And to that end, we're also going to be working or trying to work with Safe Routes to School and get some grant money for project identification. We were trying to do that as a committee for sidewalks. I guess it's not my day job, so I only have so much time to be doing the work on it, and as well as the other committee members. So if we could get some grant money and get some assistance for the project identification from the professionals, I think that would really push it forward pretty fast. So building on another previous meeting, we were talking about the traffic light, the speed cameras for the traffic lights, people going through lights. And I had done some research on how much it would cost for a reader board, because that's where the conversation had migrated to. And just to rent it, you're looking at $130 per day to $1,300 a month, which we thought that's kind of steep if we were trying to do something that was a long-term project. Sergeant Leday had looked at the purchase price of $18,000, which again was pretty expensive. But at the end of the meeting, he showed me they have these things. It looks like a regular speed limit sign, but it blinks rather than giving you the actual number you're going. It just blinks to draw your attention that, hey, you're going a little faster than you're supposed to. And those were about $1,000 or so per. So you're looking at two-way signs, of course, one for each side. And so we decided to see if we could get the worst offenders for the streets, if you will. And so I put out a request to our interim city manager to ask Kaiser PD to give us the information on our top 5 area streets with street violations over the past 3 years. So we'll be getting that information at the next meeting. And then I mentioned about we'll be inviting Safe Routes to Schools coordinator and the ODOT program manager to our October meeting to talk about getting those project identification grants and see if we can get more assistance on filling out those applications and hopefully get more successful at it. Last things were, Hirsch commented on how successful the Monster Cookie Ride was, and he was thanking KPD as well as Public Works, making it a really successful and very welcoming experience for people. And a lot of people came from all over, including Portland, and commented on how great the experience was for them. And the mini cookie was a really great experience too for the kids. And I don't know if you remember, there was a problem, the property on Shamala where the road curves a little bit. This may be something that we want to investigate, costs money for us, but putting, Rick Kuhn, who's on the committee, was mentioning putting those yellow and black chevron signs to help people note that there's a curve here. There's some cost, of course, involved, and of course, they're fairly large. You're looking at something about that tall. So aesthetically, it might not be the most pleasing thing, but it's not pleasing to have a car through your house either. So.
Does not do much for your decor.
No. So it's just more ideas. And finally, I reached out to the other committee members, but I haven't heard back from any but one. There's that Verda Lane project. Mike Jaffe had mentioned that they're in the design phase. So we were wondering about having the traffic safety participate in whatever design discussion there was. That came up after the meeting, but I'm just bringing it up to you now, and we'll be looking at possibly bringing that up as working with Public Works and just participating in that conversation.
Okay. I can respond to that one. That one is a done deal. That one is design and build. They're going to go forward with that. So I don't know that we're going to have the kind of process that we are with Wheatland, because we are looking at corridor design. What's that going to look like? What do people prefer? With Verda, we're dealing with this was an ODOT-driven project. As I understand that one, so it's somewhat different than what we're doing along with Wheatland, but that same notion of making sure we have complete systems of bike ped, as well as better visibility along that corridor from Dearborn to the Parkway.
Right.
So I think probably the traffic safety bike ped will be much more involved as we move down the process with Wheatland, because that's going to be two separate processes. We have, as you know, the design open house, and we've had input from, and we're going to get those designs, I think the results from that pretty quick here. I think it's supposed to be done by the end of the year, if I remember that grant correctly. I might be wrong. So that one, then we'll go, once we have the preferred alternative, then we'll start going after the funding for construction on that one. But I want to circle back to one thing you said, if you're done.
Yes, I am done, yeah.
The blinky lights on the speed limit signs. Oh my gosh, I love that idea. Getting, locations that would be effective. I'm going to look to Chief Teague and then Mr. Lawyer, when you guys talk about locations where you believe that might be effective. Low cost, and I know I noticed them when I'm going down and that thing's blinking at me going, hey, this is what your speed is supposed to be. I'm like, oops.
Yeah, now this won't tell you again the number, but at least tell you, hey, you're going beyond the number that's permanently on this
draws
number.
your attention, and also in the process, it encourages the jurisdiction to keep foliage away from those signs. I mean, how many times have we been in places where you couldn't see a sign because foliage had grown over it?
Yeah.
And it needs to be cut back so you can see it. So I think that's a fabulous idea, and I hope that proceeds. The design for Shimola, I believe Public Works is already meeting with property owners. I know Bill's not here tonight, Mr. Lawyer's not here tonight, but they've already had conversations with the property owners along there, because we all absolutely agree with you and the property owners and city staff that wasn't okay. Car upside down in front lot, not okay. So, yeah, so definitely that one's going to move forward. I saw more rocks got placed, the big ones on the east side, but it's the design on the west side because of the drop off that definitely makes that much more of a challenge. but they're moving forward with that. That's what I understand. So I will then go to Councilor Day, or, okay, Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The chevrons, the tall chevrons, it has worked in several other locations. For example, where the welcome to Kaiser sign is, we haven't had too many people go through those since those were installed. So that
Good point.
it does bring some awareness that is fairly inexpensive comparison to other things we could do.
But I think aesthetically, you're right, Mr. de Blasi, that the property owner may want to look at other design options too, because that might not have a lot of curb appeal.
Like painting it on the rocks.
Yeah, so, anyway, but, and again, the differential, but definitely keep all the options on the table to get that straightened out. Anybody else have any questions? Well, thank you I do have one more. We continue to circle back on the notion of sidewalks and so forth along Cummings. And I think I responded in an email, I reminded everybody that Cummings has some very, very significant right-of-way issues. We don't have any. And years ago, none. I mean, it's like right there. They built as much as they could, because when that road was built, it was a long time ago, before Kaiser was even a glimmer in anybody's eye. So we don't have right-of-way along there, so we're going to have to work with property owners who in the past, now this may not be the current property owners, past property owners made it very clear that they weren't interested in any changes there. So my recommendation would be to talk about how we can convene the property owners along there to have a conversation. What does this look like? What would they like to see? Because it's their homes. And right near the end is their businesses. What would this look like? What would be helpful from their point of view? And just start that conversation as a community discussion, throw ideas on the table, and hear from them, the people who live right there. I already got one email from somebody who was very unhappy with that car upside down in their front yard, because some individual decided that going way past what any blinky speed limit would have said was okay, went through a power pole and ended up upside down. That's not a common occurrence along there, but we have known for years that there's been a desire to do something along Cummings Lane, but it's got to involve all the property owners.
Absolutely, yeah.
So ideas for helping convene that, I think, would be really helpful, and engage in a community discussion, conversation around that.
Well, I can bring that up at the next meeting, and we can
Yeah.
at least have that conversation within the committee.
Yeah, and that sound good to all y'all? Councilor Kohler, you had your hand up?
I did, thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. de Blasi, did you talk about pedestrian islands a minute ago too?
So that was one of the first things where during our public comment off of the agenda, it was brought up as pedestrian islands as a possible use of the ARPA funds. And I think, if I recall correctly, it's about $50,000 or so to put those in, or at least, I don't know about the installation, but for all the parts of it.
Because it seems like over the last 3 years, pedestrian islands keeps coming up as a subject, but we talked with Mr. Lawyer, and I've talked with our fire chief and the fire department, and they're not real fond of having pedestrian islands, especially at the bigger intersections, because that's what they use for their emergency vehicles. So I thought that we'd put that kind of to bed for a while before, but now it's coming up again, so I'm just concerned.
So again, it was brought up by public, and to that end about the emergency vehicles and all, I guess I would recommend that Kaiser or the fire department maybe talk to some other cities who have them and see how their emergency vehicles navigate them, I suppose.
Yeah, some of the other cities don't have the narrow streets, don't have near as narrow streets as we have. And I think that's one of the big concerns, that that keeps coming back when I ask the fire department and police department and Mr. Lawyer about it. That's a big concern. They said they just don't want anything to do with them.
Okay. I
So-
invite them to come, yeah.
We'll keep on trying to find a way to, solve some of the issues regarding pedestrian safety and so forth. There's new designs and ideas coming out all the time. What's nice is that we don't have to reinvent it. We
Right.
can borrow from successful models.
Absolutely.
So keep on digging.
All right,
We're going to find that space.
we will.
All right, any other questions for Mr. DeBlasi? Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Batting cleanup is Bob Bush with the Kaiser Points of Interest Committee.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, and City Council and staff. And it's kind of with mixed emotions I bring you this report. We had our last meeting about a week and a half ago. It was our first meeting since June, and it was the first meeting I had been at since April due to a little job out at Volcano Stadium. But I'm happy to report that all projects we were working on have now been completed. We got the last of the Kaiser School signage up over at Schoolhouse Square. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, it's on the back of Jersey Mike's, on the only part of the wall there that doesn't have graphics on it already, and is right behind the bus stop, the bus, I guess, stop, yeah, the shed, the shelter there. And my wife and I were actually driving south on River Road one time and saw a guy at the bus stop looking at it, and then he walked around and went over and looked at it. So it is getting attention. The other thing that we just finished is what we affectionately call the Project 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is probably more accurately referred to as 45.123, because that's the location for where the 45th parallel and the 123rd longitude, yeah, intersect, which is actually just outside of Kaiser on the southeast corner. But we have put a marker up at Kaiser Little League Field. That first field up there by the gravel parking lot to the north, is that field 6?
Looks good.
Field 2. Okay. It's on the left, it's on the corner of the left third base line and left field fence. I have a picture here of it if anybody wants to see it. And then, let's see, what else was there? We did look at your request for us to look at the Kaiser Little League history stuff. And just on a quick search, we found a 59-page document that was documenting the history of Kaiser Little League clear back to the building of the park. I mean, it had pictures of the equipment moving the dirt and everything. And then we also found a oral video, or a, how did it refer to it? The, oh, that's the wrong one. The oral history project. We have one where they interviewed people about the park. So there's already stuff there. And then it was also determined that it sounded like what you guys were really wanting us to do was look at the signage and the lifetime. And we figured that wasn't really something for KPIC to look at. That was either something that Kaiser Little League would be doing or the city would be doing. But it was not in our scope. So those were the projects we were working on. We finished those. At that point, we had no other projects, and we then actually voted as a committee to ask you guys to disband us. And then we have gotten another, since then, we've gotten another request for changing some of the signage out at Kaiser Rapids to include the Calapuyas. The Kaiser Heritage Museum already has some of that kind of signage, and we're looking at, now I'm kind of switching over to that committee because I'm on that one too. But we're already looking at adding more of the indigenous peoples in our displays in the museum, and we're trying to locate that signage. We haven't been able to find it for a couple of months, but that would probably be ideal to put out there somehow. And then that would do that, because I don't know that we need to completely revamp that whole thing, but it would be nice to have those out there. Robert Becker, who is the chairman of the Kaiser Heritage Museum Committee, and I think he's also the chair now of the Heritage, or the Culture, whatever that's
Foundation.
called,
Yeah.
the main one over there. But we have decided that any other projects that KPIC could do or would be asked to do, that we could do through the Heritage Museum, and then anything that might require signage or anything like that, then we could put a proposal together to bring to you guys to get it pushed through.
All right.
And that was basically it.
Well, thank you.
And we did offer, Robert and I did offer anybody that's on the KPIC committee that wanted to was welcome to come over and join us at the Heritage Museum. And we had several members say that they would be very interested in doing that. I think all but one said they would.
Well, that's a fabulous collaboration. And the number of projects that have been accomplished through the Kaiser Points of Interest, which I'm going to give a big shout out to Dr. Jerry McGee, former city councilor. This was his baby. And through the collaboration with the committee members and people, volunteers in identifying and doing these projects, and also a huge shout out to Debbie Lockhart.
Amen.
Who has been consistent all the way through that and has tremendous artistic and research talents that she has used time and time again in developing, designing, and working with the committee on those displays. So she has been an absolute rock star in all of this work that's been
We
done.
also offered her to come over and continue to work with us, and she accepted.
Fabulous.
She's interested in doing that.
That sounds like a win. Absolute win. Plus, she won't have to be taking minutes. She can be designing.
Right.
Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was a liaison for KPIC, and I just want to thank the folks that have served now and before, because I was on it for close to 7 years now. But there was a lot of great projects, a lot of great ideas floating around, some kind of wild ideas at times, but a lot of good work was done, and I'm really appreciative of being on that. So thank you very much for your hard work too. Appreciate that.
Thank you for yours.
So we have been offered a recommendation by the Kaiser Points of Interest Committee to disband, and with the consensus of council to ask staff to bring that back to us at our next meeting for our consideration.
May I add something?
Yes, Councilor Herrera.
Made a great point about the, not overlap, but the work that they're doing over here with the Heritage.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it, we were thinking, they're the perfect fit they've got a lot of resources, and Robert is incredible at researching, also Debbie. So we thought that would be correct me if I'm wrong, that would be the correct way to handle these projects. And
Yeah.
we actually voted, and that was made sense to us. So I do support that, by the way. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Earlier this year, I asked Bob Bush and Robert Becker to start working together on this conversation, because we have so many people that are interested in doing a wide variety of work, and Robert has done a magnificent job over at the Heritage Museum, writing grants, getting those grants, and updating the displays, and also the online presence of the Kaiser Heritage Museum. If you haven't seen it since it reopened, you haven't seen it. So you need to be over there when the flag's out and says they're open. It is absolutely fantastic. And a lot of stuff is now online as well.
May I
Yeah,
add something?
you won't recognize it
No,
if you've been there before and you come in now.
yeah. Plus they got the paint and the carpet.
Yes.
Councilor Rivera.
Last one, thank you, Madam Mayor. One thing what Robert did is also that I really appreciate he reached out to me and others and asked about the history of some of the Latinos that have moved in the area. And I really appreciate that. That's part of our history, and that's something that he was very thorough in including that. And I appreciate that. That's really good. So that's part of our history. So, but Robert he's a gem. He really is.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to add on to that, he is also it's scheduled to come talk to our Islander Club at McNary to get their voice in there as well. So, that outreach is
I rest my case.
very comprehensive.
Yeah, he's looking at trying to find information that we can put up on any of the other races other than us whites who used to be in the area or are still in the area.
And contribute so much.
Yes.
Tell a more complete history. That is absolutely wonderful. That's very exciting. And to see the museum, take the great work that so many people have put into it and to now take it to a new level is only because of the work that people have done, to date to make that even possible. So congratulations to the Kaiser Points of Interest Committee. Congratulations to the Kaiser Heritage Museum. I think we have a very strong foundation for moving forward and telling our combined collective history in a really engaging way. Fabulous. So we will have that on our next council agenda. Any other questions for Mr. Bush? Thank you so much, and thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Welcome.
it. Those are all the people I have signed up for committee reports. Are there any committee reports I missed? Seeing none, though, I'll go to public comments. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearing. We have one public hearing scheduled for this evening, and that is an ordinance and then an accompanying resolution amending the process for the formation of public improvement reimbursement districts, declaring an emergency, amending ordinance number 2015-716, and repeal of ordinance number 2021-838. So if you're here for that, stand by one. And if you're here for anything else, now is the time. And I'm going to offer courtesy to Councilor Day.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and to the citizens, city staff, and the city council. I need to apologize. Last week at the work session, I hold myself to a very high standard, and I fell well short of that standard, and I apologize. I can admit when I'm wrong, and I was very wrong last week. I didn't mean any disrespect to any of our staff, the citizens, and certainly not to any of my fellow city councilors. It's a privilege to sit on this dais with all of you, and it's a privilege to work with the city staff. I was wrong, and I can only promise to do better in the future. And if I don't, Council President Smith said she'd put a fork in my neck. So I want you all to know that I've already spoken with Mr. Hare. I met with him last week. I can't remember. We met for about an hour, had a good conversation. I offered my apologies, which he accepted. And again, I just want to apologize to the staff, the public, and to my colleagues up here. I'll do my best to make sure that never happens again, and I hope you can accept my apology. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Day. Absolutely, and thank you also for meeting with Mr. Hare. Just for people who are wondering, Mr. Hare is at the International City Managers Association, ICMA. It's an acronym, I have to define it. He's at that conference this week. Thank you, Councilor Day. I very much appreciate your efforts, and we are going to move forward all together as a council. Thank you. I don't have anybody who has turned in a blue slip for public testimony this evening. Is there anyone else who would like to comment at this time? Yes, please come up, and if you would give us your name and your city of residence for the record.
My name is Karma Rowell. This is my husband, Tim Dyke, and we live at 2200 Shamawa, Northeast. And we just keep, we were never told that there was a C master plan. And we're just kind of curious if timelines, because we keep getting letters that they're talking about the C-section for Kaiser Station, but we don't really know what's the outcome, and is it not till 2030, or is it going to be next year that the development of C-section is going to be taking place? Because we bought our forever home and we're not told that it was a commercial zoned or part of Kaiser Station C. So we're just kind of curious, what's the plan?
So first off, we're glad you chose Kaiser. Second of all, yes, Area C does have a master plan of sorts, so that is available. And if you would give Ms. Davis your email, we will send you the link to that master plan so you'll know exactly what we're talking about. Area C is partly developed, that's Bonaventure and the Kaiser Station apartments are part of that, but the triangle between Shamawa and Verta Lane, not Verta, McLeod, and then all the way over to the railroad tracks is the rest of what we call Area C.
Right, we have all that.
Okay, so you have all that.
We do.
When it will happen completely depends upon the property owners in that area. When they decide to sell for development and bring us a plan to do so, then that's when it'll happen. To date, we don't have anything on file that the main property owners have brought to the city council or to our planning department to develop the rest of that area.
We just, we put $30,000 into the house and then we see this letter and it's still in motion and it's still going to happen. We don't want to continue to develop our property if it's going to be demolished and sold, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Where that option is there. So we just, we're homeowners in our own home that we thought we'd be at forever, so.
So you are a property owner in Area C?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
2200, okay, so this is 2200 Shamawa.
It's right in the center of it, right off of.
Between Shamal and McLeod, right?
Yeah,
Oh
off
snap,
of
I'm going to
Lock.
go to Counselor Johnson, Mr. Johnson.
So-
Oh, gotcha, I know exactly, okay.
Okay, well, so that answered that question. And did I speak to you folks on the phone?
I don't know, maybe 5 years ago when we moved in.
Oh, okay.
It's been just about 5 years, and we found out about 6 months after we moved in.
Maybe I sent an email.
Yes, recently,
Tim
yes.
and, is it Tim?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I sent an email back to see if you had any questions on it. As the mayor said, that's master plan, and are you talking about Area C, correct? Where you live, that area? Because I had another person asking me a question about Area D. As the mayor said, it's up to the property owners or developers there who acquire the property on when they want to build. The city doesn't build the project. The city's only in charge of dealing with the master plan application or land use decisions. The Bonaventure and the apartment folks came in a few years ago and put together a master plan for their part of it. The rest is planned for a mix of mainly retail with some restaurant offices and a little bit of residential. So it's whatever somebody who owns the property there sells to a developer. So, I can't really tell you other than that.
So
So we're not in charge of that.
So the developers can come around anytime? Or how does that work?
Well, developers got to own the property first. So, if the developer doesn't own the property, it's possible that it can be built around you. So, I just wanted to confirm though, you folks aren't here to object on the reimbursement district part,
No.
which is the next hearing. Okay, fine. I just want to double check that part.
Do we keep living there and improve or what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, that's hard for me to answer, but I'd be glad to talk to you folks anytime this week. If you want to contact me, just call the front desk and ask for the city attorney. I'd be glad to talk to you further about it.
Okay.
Okay?
I think the big question is, because they are the property owner, nobody can make them sell to a developer. Is that correct?
That's correct.
that is
It is your home.
100% correct.
Yes.
Right,
It
but
is
at
your
the
home
same
to do
time,
with as you wish.
16 million little things around us, and also, we wouldn't want to
Yes,
stay
you
in the middle
did.
of construction and
Right.
cars and businesses
Yes.
if it was going to be noisy and people on our property, that
Right.
kind of.
Exactly, and how that design, again, the master plan is it's very general. There are no specific plans because that hasn't gone to that stage. So there will be public hearings on that if there are any exceptions to the master plan that we have right now. So that would be a very good place to start. But your property is your property, and Counselor Day is right. He is land use attorney. So,
And I can tell you, I wrote the law that says they can't take it and give it to a developer.
Right, and our
Right.
realtor company told us that 6 months after we bought it.
Yeah.
But at
Right.
the same time, when there's construction around, you just don't know if you want to sit in the middle of that for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So, all right,
No.
thank you for hearing us.
well, absolutely. And thank you, Mr. Johnson, for following up with them. So to give you guys as much peace of mind as we possibly can. Thank you. Anyone else tonight? All right, that will conclude public comment. I don't have any written comment this evening. So we will go to a public hearing. I'm going to open the public hearing for the ordinance amending the process for the formation of public improvement reimbursement districts, declaring an emergency, amending ordinance number 2015-716, repeal of ordinance 2021-838, and a resolution amending resolution R 2015-2630, forming the Kaiser Station Area C reimbursement district. Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to City Attorney Shannon Johnson. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, Madam Mayor, and Council. Before I give a brief staff report, I didn't want to forget this. There's a very tiny typo that City Manager Wes Hare caught after the packet went out for Council President Smith, and it's on the ordinance, page 3, which is page 9 of the packet. On line 4, which is section 13B, it says, if granted, interest shall be applied as a return of investment, and that's supposed to be on. So it's just an extremely small one. So that word should be on instead of. Madam Mayor and Council, this is before you tonight for hearing on the amendment of the reimbursement district for Area C. It follows along the lines of what we had discussed a few months ago. For the audience, the developers in Area C, Bonaventure and Coldwell Banker, the apartments in the Senior Living Center, had applied in 2015 to form a reimbursement district to allow for partial reimbursement of the infrastructure costs there. That district was formed in 2015. In 2018, the final project costs were done. There was a hearing on the final project costs. Those were adopted also in 2018. Recently, the developers came to us with a request, as you may recall, to at least revisit the idea of when interest on the reimbursement fee would begin to accrue. And the way it was written was the interest didn't accrue until the agreement was signed, and the agreement had not been signed. I think the council considered that and felt it was fair that interest should begin when the final project is totally completed and the costs have been approved, which happened in 2018. And so after a public hearing, last meeting, I believe, or the meeting before, the council opened that hearing, closed the hearing, and adopted an ordinance that provided for the interest to begin to accrue at when the final costs were approved, which would be 2018. That ordinance was for the entire city, so it applied to any reimbursement district. The step tonight is a public hearing on Area C specifically to amend the formation of that district to line up with that concept. In other words, the interest beginning to accrue when the final costs are approved. So that's the matter before you tonight. When we were looking this over last week for the final draft, we noticed that, and this was true from the very beginning in the original ordinance, that the interest calculation had been called an annual adjustment. And after discussing this with my assistant, we realized that if someone came in at a particular time of the year, by the way, this date happens to be April 2nd of 2018, I believe, when they were approved. If somebody came in on March 30 of one year, the way it was written, there would be no interest for that nearly year because it would only adjust once a year. That did not seem appropriate. I don't think that met anybody's intention. And so instead of using the term annual adjustment, we simply called it interest, which is what it is. So it's one of those things where sometimes the simpler thing is better. And so those changes you can see change that in the ordinance. And that was, which was done last meeting, and then also for tonight was specifically with regard to Area C. We did note though, that the way it was, and that's the reason for that change, as I indicated. And so that is before you, and that's what the ordinance is. since the resolution forming the district depends on the ordinance, it makes sense to adopt that amendment, fixing that first. So after the hearing, if there's no further questions and you close the hearing, the appropriate step would be to adopt the ordinance first. And then with that one little change of or on instead of, and then adopt the resolution to change that. So the other comments, so that's my staff report. I did want to comment on, we did get a letter of objection late today, which is before you on the dais, from Mr. Batzer. Mr. Batzer owns some of the lots in the undeveloped portion of Area C. And for the audience sakes, I won't read the entire letter, but basically indicating that they oppose to it due to the cost prohibitive off-site costs that will prohibit economic viability of development of the rest of the Area C. And so there is a cost, as we've said, obviously to developers who come in. And it's up to council to decide whether this change makes sense. However, the time to object to the reimbursement district was in 2015. And then there was a slight increase in the costs. So 2018, there was a little increase on the estimated cost, but the actual district itself and the cost, that is kind of way past due. The only issue at all is whether or not the way the interest is calculated is appropriate or not. Now, there was a public hearing already on the ordinance, so in a sense, the resolution tonight matching up with that, in other words, interest starts when the project costs are approved, kind of has already gone down by the wayside because the ordinance has already been changed. However, I will point out, because that ordinance was for all of the city, there wasn't direct notice. It was published notice for the public hearing because we were changing it for all the city. For this hearing, of course, it's specifically on Area C, so there was mailed notice. So that's, in a nutshell, kind of how things fell out tonight. You know, I want to double check my notes, Madam Mayor. Okay, I already covered that. So yeah, the only question really is the interest issue, which you folks have already made an initial determination on. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, questions on the staff report. Councilor Rivera?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Kind of a weird question, but
There you go.
curious,
microphone.
why wasn't it called interest in the first place?
Why wasn't it? Is that your question?
Yeah.
I totally agree, Councilor Herrera.
It's
one of those things, and I guess I will say that I think the concept is maybe a little similar to what we do with our fees, because our fees are an annual adjustment if we have a city fee, and I think that's the road we started to go down years ago when that was adopted. It was like, okay, once a year, we'll adjust the city's fees to the public, whatever we charge for like land use applications or stuff. So we put it kind of in that same category, but it really didn't make sense in this situation. And it could be a significant amount of money depending on at what time of year somebody happened to develop, right? So.
Thank you. I was curious. I'm reading through it, I go, well, it makes sense, interesting.
Thank you. Councilor Day, you had a question?
I had a couple. And I apologize, Madam Mayor, I missed this. Are we considering both the ordinance and the resolution right now?
Yes.
Okay.
The ordinance is only, I would have put that as a separate agenda item, but we're only really making that small change. We just made that ordinance. That was the public hearing from a week, a couple meetings ago.
Right.
But yes, you're considering both of them. The ordinance is just a tweak to take care of what we see as a problem with the date thing with the annual adjustment versus the interest.
And then, my next question is, so we've already made this change for the entire city.
Correct.
So if we don't make this change now for Area C will be treated differently than the rest of the city?
Well, we don't have any others that it applies to because all the other reimbursement districts are, already formed even prior to the last change. So it wouldn't really be applicable. The difficulty would be you'd have to, if you wanted to go the route of not allowing the interest after all, after you already decided that, we'd have to come back with a different ordinance. And, that was, I guess the question comes up of whether or not we'd have to officially notice that one since that hearing's actually been closed. So I will say, and maybe this is unfair, and there may be somebody else that wants to testify along the same lines as Mr. Batzer in terms of opposition, but I get the impression that the opposition is really to the entire thing, which is not correct, obviously. I mean, that's done and way past any kind of appeal times. The district was formed in 2015, and the final costs were approved in 2018. The only issue right now, and the only reason anyone got notice, was this issue with regard to when the interest starts to accrue.
Any other questions on the staff report? Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't know if now's the appropriate time to ask this or whether we do it through testimony, but what is the definition of prohibited costs for development?
That might come through testimony, so can I put your question
Yes,
on pause?
Please do.
We have two people signed up to testify.
I'm just trying to figure out how much they're talking about.
I had a similar question, but if I may suggest that, hold that thought. Anyone else? Okay. I do have two people signed up to testify this evening, and I'll start off with John Eld.
Is it possible for me to go last, since I'll probably do the rebuttal?
It's a coin toss between you and Mr. Yarbrough.
Because I know Yarborough's most likely going to speak against, so I would like to...
Well, we'll have the conversation, and if you would like to yield to Mr. Yarbrough, so be it. Come on up, Mr. Yarbrough, and then we'll have a conversation.
I'd like him to go first.
Come on up, and we will be able to have the conversation. If you would just state your name and your city of residence for the record.
John Eld, Salem. So I'm with the developer. I came before council in 2015, came back before council in 2018, and just want to first off thank you guys, thank everyone for their hard work on this. I also want to emphasize that if we look back at the original code that was adopted in 2015 and the original ordinance that was adopted in 2015, the intent was always to have the interest there. The intent was that the interest would queue when the reimbursement district was created, but it was queued on when the agreement was done. Now, and if you go back and look at it, that agreement could have taken place at any time. We opted to wait until after the costs were certified in 2018, and we worked with the city. Unfortunately, creating that agreement and finalizing that agreement took significantly longer than we anticipated in 2015 before we started the whole process. So we could have hypothetically created the agreement before we even built the improvements, which means the interest could have started in 2015. But we didn't. We waited for the costs to get certified in 18. And so I looked up, because I got a copy of the letter, and I looked at Mr. Batzer's holdings in Area C, the two properties, or the properties that he owns. And he currently owns 3.87 acres over several lots under the two entities that he lists in his letter. Those 3.87 acres currently owe or are responsible for $573,565.60 of the reimbursement district, which totals $3.3 million. Our holdings, which we still have holdings outside of the senior housing and the apartment development, is 3.98 acres. And so we're responsible for 640,000 and change. The interest on Batzer's property, if we go back to the April 2nd of 2018, would be $60,000. The interest on our property would be $67,000. What I can tell you is by us developing those and putting those improvements in, we opened up the potential to be able to develop Area C. Without us punching McLeod through, it would be much harder to develop those areas. If they were to come in today and try and do those same improvements, the costs for construction have drastically increased, more than 3% a year. So likely those costs would have been a lot higher to those property owners today if they were to develop versus when we developed. So we're simply just asking to make sure that the interest is fair and is started when it was intended to be started once the costs were certified after the improvements were made. I'm happy to answer any further questions, but I'd also like to say that the other adjustment that has been made to the reimbursement district, the initial language and the initial intent was that the next developer would be the one to put in the traffic signal. And the traffic signal is estimated at $500,000. Likely today, if you're going to put in that traffic signal, it's probably going to cost more than $500,000. It's probably going to cost $600,000 or $700,000. But we've changed the language because if you look back at the traffic impact analysis that was done as part of the master plan, there's a certain trip threshold that has to be triggered before that signal goes in. And if a smaller development comes in, because the thought was that the large big box would be the next one to develop. So they would come in and they would end up doing combining all the property owners and developing it into one big chunk. But if someone smaller comes in and develops just Batzer's property or just our property, they may not trigger that threshold. So it's possible that we can start getting some smaller development in Area C without triggering the traffic signal. And so they would just have to contribute their fair share as outlined in the reimbursement district, but the eventual developer of that traffic signal would be whoever pushed over that threshold. And so the language got adjusted a little bit to allow for, to make it easier. It was kind of already there, I think it makes it a little bit easier for the next developer if they're a smaller developer. So in essence, I believe that actually makes it easier for Mr. Batzer or the other smaller property owners in that Area C to develop if they chose to. So with that, I'll yield to any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Mr. Eld? All right, I don't see any at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to thank Mr. Eld for reminding me something and apologize to the council. I left something off the staff report. That last discussion point Mr. Eld brought up was correct. We did make a change in the language, and the best way to explain this is that this is not a land use ordinance, okay? This is not a land use decision. This only has to do with reimbursement districts. The Area C master plan implies that the very next developer who comes in would put in the signal, but it doesn't actually say that. It basically says you'll build whatever improvements are required in the traffic impact analysis. And so it's not quite as clear as that. The original language here back in the reimbursement district was the next developer puts it in. You can't really have that here because that belongs in the land use decision. So the language was changed to basically say if whoever is the actual traffic signal developer puts it in here. And so I wanted to point that out to council. That's on page 12, basically, of the packet. So I just wanted to make touch base on that.
Very good. Thank you very much. I remember that discussion separating out the traffic signal trigger points. Mr. Yarborough?
Madam Mayor, council members, staff, good evening. My name is Jack Yarborough, and I am here to oppose a portion of this proposal, and that's the interest. And I wanted to ask Shannon a question, if I understood him. First of all, I wasn't aware of any until I got this letter specifically due to my property. COVID, I don't really know why, but I thought you said you've already discussed this interest rate with the council, and they've already come to some kind of agreement on the interest?
Yes, so the interest, the developer came in and requested this a few months ago. I indicated if the council feels this is appropriate, and the council did, that the first step would be to amend the actual ordinance that would apply to all the city. And so that was done a meeting or two ago. That notice was published but not sent to anyone because it involved the entire city. So
I'm coming to this party a little late with all the facts. But again, you've discussed it because in this notice here it talks about 3% interest. Is that?
And that was the original interest. That part hasn't changed. It's just about when it starts to accrue.
Okay, so I know Batzer, Chuck Sides, and that team, and they have a legitimate complaint or a position where it's gonna, I think, regardless of what he says, it's gonna make it difficult with these kind of rates. So I'm not sure. I own a small portion. I only own 3 lots. I have less than an acre, so I don't know what mine's gonna come to. But you just keep adding that on, pretty soon, you're not gonna have any value. You're gonna be given that property. In fact, I might work out something with the city to donate that property, my property, to the city, because I've never been able to develop, even when I wanted to put it into a community soccer and basketball. I don't know if you remember when we came and tried to do that, you guys wouldn't let me do that. So, so now it's been sitting there, and I got charged $1,200 or $1,000 for having you guys mow it because you sent the notice, as you probably know, to the wrong address, and it was signed, certified, it was signed by somebody else, not me. But it's a specific area. The piece that I own is specific, it's small, it's difficult to develop just as it is. It's not that I don't have the money to come in and pay these funds to develop that, but just that portion would not be cost effective. If you get Batzer's piece in there and a couple across the street, you might be able to develop it. Like the people that were here earlier that came in, they own a piece, they don't want to sell that. They own a house, they want to live there. So that's going to be a little difficult to get enough property together to develop that. Now we're going to be burdened with additional increase. So I didn't know, or I would have been here before, and maybe I should have been paying attention, but I travel a lot. I should have been paying attention to this 3%. And you said, Shannon, you're saying that was the original 3%. So we're not trying to raise that now. That's not part of it. It's 3%. So, but if you think at 3%, the bank's paying 0.5%. So that's 6 times what a bank's charging. And obviously, these guys got the money. This is not about money. If I had their money, I'd burn mine. So 0.5% that the bank's given, and they're charging 3. So you just keep adding on to this problem with developing that. So somebody's going to come in and you're going to have to, I would say you'd have to get at least about 80% of that property. In fact, their realtor has been contacting me to sell mine and to try to work with Chuck Sides and John Batzer, which will never happen in my lifetime, on getting that property. So it's going to be fragmented, to say the least, and it's going to be very difficult to take those pieces and develop that. So this 3% is just going to keep running and churning and churning. So I'm opposed to the 3%, but if that's already passed, then like I say, I'm late to the game, and I may be just wasting my time and yours, and I apologize for that. But I wasn't aware that there was 3% until I got this notice. So with that being said, you want to make it retroactive to 18. So is that, now you mentioned, Shannon, that that's already been predetermined?
The interest rate has been predetermined, and the ordinance was just adopted a few weeks ago to change when it starts to accrue.
Okay.
The council can choose to change that if they wish.
Well, it's my mistake for not being more fully informed than that. I would have been here before. So I'm opposed to it starting in 2018, but I think I'm behind that game. So I apologize for wasting your time on that. But I do have, can I ask one more question of the chief of police while I'm here?
Because this is a public hearing, we have to stay within the topic at hand. So it's not the timing thing, it's the topic, because this is only supposed to be around this particular issue. But I would encourage you to stay after and visit with him about a question that you may have.
All right. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. Did anybody have any questions for Mr. Yarborough? Okay. I just want to make sure we covered that base.
Thank you again, ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir. Anybody else have anybody else like to speak to this issue this evening while we conclude this public hearing? So seeing no one from from folks here, City Council, do you have any further information that you need before I close the public hearing on this matter? Looking around, Duran, Day, Smith, Herrera, Reed, Kohler. Good? The public hearing is now closed. Council President Smith, would you please put the first motion on the table?
And, thank you, Madam Mayor. 1 second. Shannon, I'm just saying as amended, correct?
I would actually ask you to just make that word change because this is an ordinance, so it's,
Okay.
it should be on instead of and return on investment in line 4 of page 3 of the ordinance.
You're going to have to slow down.
Right here.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's on page 3, line 4, change from return of to return on.
Okay.
Investment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt a bill for an ordinance amending the process for the formation of public improvement reimbursement districts, declaring an emergency, amending ordinance number 2015-716, repeal of ordinance 2021-838, as amended for page 3 of ordinance, line 4, as corrected to return on investment versus of.
Second?
I don't have to read the whole thing again, right? Okay. The ordinance, I don't want to get it wrong because it does have the exact language. So the ordinance has been moved and seconded. Further discussion, as amended. Thank you. Any further discussion? Looking. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Council President Smith, the resolution, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2021, amending Resolution R 2015-2630, forming the Kaiser Station Area C Reimbursement District.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt Resolution R 2021, amending Resolution R 2015-2630, forming the Kaiser Station Area C Reimbursement District. Discussion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And the letter from the Batzers was included in the
Yes.
record by reference.
Correct.
Okay. Fabulous. I'm going to turn my page. That takes us to administrative action, City Council rules of procedure. Councilor Kohler, you had something?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I was wondering if we could move one agenda item forward a little bit for our youth counselor who needs to leave in a couple of minutes.
I'd be happy to do so. Any objection from council?
Thank you.
Youth Counselor Coleman.
Okay, so I hate to, put this out of order, but I still before I left, I wanted to do my report. Because the last time I was here, I mentioned that I wanted to do some sort of homecoming affiliated community service event. And I ended up working with my community service committee at McNary to put on a homecoming kickoff community service event this Saturday, October 9th at 10 a.m. at Northview Park. We are going to be laying bark chips at the park. I planned this event with my committee and then also with the Clagger Creek Watershed Council. Matt was, he's the best, so he helped me do that, and I'm very excited to tell you guys all how it goes. We are hoping to get 25 to 50 people to go, but the hard part with community service events is that you are never guaranteed. You will never exactly know how many people will be there, so with whoever many amount of people that will be there, we will do our best and have fun. So I'm excited. And hopefully it's not rainy, but we'll do it either way.
Hey, we show up in the rain, right? Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Would you like to speak to the trunk or treat event that is being planned?
I didn't realize that was a thing. Who's planning that?
Mr. Everett.
Oh, really?
It's a Mr. Everett. Yeah, so anyway, never mind.
I can speak to him about it. That'd be awesome.
Well, why don't you do a little research into it since we have a little bit of time and report on that at the next council meeting.
Okay, sounds cool.
And then are you going to send out like an email or a Facebook event, or maybe with the Clagger Creek Watershed Council to make it easy for us to share this on the website and via Facebook?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, and if you would forward that link to Ms. Davis, who can make sure we all get it.
Okay.
And then we'll share it out as well. And we'll try to get this out there to get more volunteers down to go to a park that probably the vast majority of people in this town have never been in.
I don't know if I have.
Yep, there's a number of us that have, but it's one of our hidden gems. So that'd be fabulous. Any other questions for Youth Counselor Coleman? Great job.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Counselor Kohler. And we will now then go to item 8A, which is administrative action, the City Council Rules of Procedure. Mr. Wood?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. Again, I'm going to turn it over to City Attorney Shannon Johnson. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, Madam Mayor, and Council. Councilors Day, Herrera, and Kohler requested a review of the Council Rules of Procedure to be added to the agenda for tonight's meeting. Mayor Clark also requested an email be attached to the packet, and that's in the packet. In addition to any items the council may wish to consider, staff has had kind of a short list of a couple of things that I've listed there. A little inconsistency between a couple of the sections with how written comments are handled. We have had questions kind of continue to come up about standing committees and electronic meetings, if you will. And then we do have a new law on HB 2560, which I still need to check with other city attorneys on exactly how they're handling that. It appears to require broader involvement electronically by our constituents, so we're going to have to address that also. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And thank you. Before I open it for questions, I would refer everyone to the memo that was attached in the packet. It's on page 16 of the packet. My recommendation for council to consider is to have a work session on this topic. Mr. Johnson has brought the list of topics that he would like to take up. And if you have something that you would like addressed, I would request that you send that to Ms. Davis and Mr. Johnson with identifying what it is, what your question is, and if you have suggested solutions to that to open it up for discussion. Then at the work session, we would work down the list of both staff and council issues and see if we can just tick them off one by one for any updates and so forth. I would also like to comment, I was talking to Mr. Hare this morning and he goes, you do realize that the city of Kaiser has some of the best council rules and procedures of cities that I've been around. He's served in other cities and so forth. He goes, Kaiser's rather than an anomaly that A, you have them, B, they're well written and well thought out, and C, you use them. So he thought we were really hitting it on a lot of scores that way. And I would like to just give a real big shout out to the committee that did the very thorough look at our entire rules and procedures subsequent to passing our new charter. And that would be Council President Smith, Councilor Kohler, and Councilor Reed did a magnificent job with that, with the able partnership, I won't say, partnership from Mr. Johnson and Ms. Tammy Harms. So I want to give a shout out there. So that said, with council, I'll take questions and then a recommendation for doing a work session. I'm going to go to Councilor Herrera, and actually I'm going to just go down the list, if I may, sir. Sure. Councilor Kohler, Councilor Reed.
Yes, I guess I'm just wondering how much time, if we are just gonna, so if we are just gonna focus on these three things, I don't know that this would warrant a work session necessarily, just because this doesn't seem like it would take that much time to discuss. These seem like they were pretty reasonable and logical fixes, but I guess it depends on what other people have to add to this list. So if it just is as it stands, I think we can deal with this just in session. But if it does get more than this, just I guess considering if we have a full work session's time to discuss rather than convening an extra meeting for 15 minutes.
Exactly. All right, Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm in favor of having a work session. I have a few things I would like, well, one in particular, and in regards to committees, but there's nothing wrong. And of course, these 3 items are, obviously we'll have to make those work. But I am in favor of a work session, so we can discuss a few things that, I know Councilor Day has some things that I also agree with, but we'll, that's where I come down. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President Smith?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have no problem doing the work session. I actually think that we should be reviewing things. Anytime you create a new policy or procedure, it should be tested, revamped, tested, make those small adjustments. I do this every 6 months, just within my internal offices and such. So it makes sense, especially after such a large revamp, that we look at it. I could definitely see there's been some things that have come up and have been a hiccup or doesn't make a ton of sense. And until you test it, we really can't make those adjustments. So I think we should definitely do a work session, read through it thoroughly, and everyone bring their concerns to that ahead of time. Actually, I believe Shannon likes to know what we're going to discuss in that scenario, just based on the last time that we did this, kind of, hey, these are a couple things that we'd want to have it take a peek at. So I'm all in favor of it.
Thank you. Councilor Day?
Yeah, I'm in favor of it as well. This was my motion, so obviously I've got some changes that I'm going to propose. But my big, I appreciate what Mr. Johnson said about, in his memo. I understand Councilor Herrera's concerns, and I think I share them as well, about the committees. And then, my issue is with section 6.4, placing items on the agenda. I think we need to revisit that. It amazes me that city councilors, that the city manager can place items on the agenda, but individual city councilors can't. That seems to really...
So we'll talk about that.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to play hide. What I'm trying to say is I'm not playing, I want you to know what my concerns are before we go to the work session.
Yep. And so, in writing, Councilor Duran?
I don't have anything specific, but I believe this is a good idea to go over this.
Okay. So, hearing that there is support for having a work session on this topic, I would suggest that the work session in November, I know this is getting ahead a little bit on agenda setting, but Ms. Davis, do we have a topic for the November work session scheduled yet?
It seems that we do, but I cannot recall at the moment.
Okay. So at the next available work session.
I can send you an
Okay.
email. I'm sorry.
And then
Pull it
the
up
other
right now.
thing I would ask is that everybody take some time. If you have something that you have a question on or that you would like addressed, please write down, again, what that is, what section, and get it to Ms. Davis and Mr. Johnson at least 2 weeks before our work session, so they have time to come back with recommendations and additional thoughts about what the do's and don'ts are for a city council. Okay?
Excuse me, Mayor Clark, sorry.
Yes.
It was the Parks Master Plan. That's what the work session we have
Okie dokie.
penciled in.
11-8 is going to be the Parks Master Plan. Okay. Okay, so we will have to find a time for this. It'll either be the December work session, or if we want to do a second one between now and, actually, we're doing 2 in October already, and we already have now 1 for November, so be thinking about whether we'll do a second one in November or just do our December one, which would be December, what-ish? Okay, calendar. Rush.
December 13th.
December 13th. Okay. So that would be the next available work session. So under agenda input, that's what I have on the list that I will bring forward to recommend for city council. Okay? Are we good? All right, Mr. Johnson, we good? All right. That takes us to the consent calendar. Council President Smith, would you please read the items on tonight's consent calendar?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the consent calendar, we have A, resolution authorizing the city manager to sign contracts with Aramark, and B, approval of the September 20th, 2021 regular session minutes, which I'd like to pull.
I would too. All right, we're pulling B. So anybody need to discuss item A? Nope. Council President Smith, let's go ahead and take care of that one.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council adopt resolution R 2021 authorizing city manager to sign contracts with Aramark.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Kaiser City Council adopt consent calendar item A. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Council President Smith, 9B.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You want to know, I pulled it because I wasn't here.
Okay. And I do have one change, and that is the spelling of the name of Representative Teresa Alonso Leon. And so she's a state representative, so it's on page 4. And the last name is two names, not hyphenated, Alonso, A-L-O-N-S-O, and then Leon, L-E-O-N. Okay?
Oh.
Yes. Okay, anything else? Okay, Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Kaiser City Council approve the September 2021 regular session minutes as corrected.
Second.
Item 9B has been moved and seconded as corrected. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying no. Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion passes with 6 aye and 1 abstention, Council President Smith. That takes us then to item 2, other business. This time is provided to allow the mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new or old matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. At this point, I'm not aware of any other additional items of other business, but I'll go ahead and look at my staff here, and I don't see any. Chief Teague?
Sure. I'll let the council and the public know that the day Officer Jeremy Darst received a life-saving award from Kaiser Fire. Back in July, we had someone who was stabbed in the arm and severed a couple of arteries up high. We've been carrying tourniquets on our equipment, on our persons for, maybe 2 or 3 years now. And have yet to apply one, but he applied it there, applied it high on the arm. It was done so well. By the way, there's a bit of technique to applying a tourniquet, by the way. It was applied so well that they were impressed with it enough. They left it on his arm, clear up into surgery. Kaiser Fire was impressed by it. He kept his arm, and they decided to honor Jeremy Darst, and we do too.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Very cool.
Oh, so proud. Thank you. All right, any other staff updates we need to know about?
Any staff
Okay.
updates? No. We're a little light on staff tonight, so I think it's been a busy week. We're all kind of running our different ways. So with that, no other updates. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Council member reports, and tonight I'm going to start with Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You ready? Oh, that was good. On 9/22, I was able to go to the Marion Pope Food Share and witness a truckload of food being donated to them. Kaiser Times put a little article about it in their paper this last Friday, and I appreciate that being there. And it's really neat being able to be a small part of getting a truckload of food donated. The 23rd was the Percy event, and that was a lot of fun. We got to see all the ladies dress up, and I got to sell a lot of, or provide a lot of pearls to people. They exceeded their goal, which was just amazing. And on the 25th, I attended the Oregon Right to Life fundraiser. Of course, there was the work session with Mr. Milliman, and then the day after that, the 28th, we had Kaiser greeters here, attended by the mayor, Councilor Duran, and myself, along with the whole room full of people. It was really neat to be able to share our building and what we do as a city with the chamber. On the 29th, they attended Food for Thought, which they reminded us all doors can be open, we just have to be patient, and that moral people normally don't commit crimes, which was kind of an interesting thing to talk about. I'm really looking forward to the Marion County Commissioners Breakfast on the 14th.
All right. Thank you very much. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have nothing tonight. However, there is a conflict on October 25th of the Personnel Policy Committee meeting and the work session. So just bringing that up.
Okay, so yeah, we'll need to connect with Michelle DePina and get that rescheduled. Thank you for pointing that out, because I didn't have that work session on my calendar either. I probably did, but it was in pencil and got penciled over.
Yeah, it wasn't on mine.
Yep. Okay, so we will reschedule the Personnel Policy Committee. Thank you for that. And then you also need did you get someone to swap with you for Thursday morning? For
I have not
Latino
yet.
Business Alliance?
I will continue to work on that.
Well, there's only one person who can do it.
Kyle.
And that's Councilor Duran. Everybody else is already booked.
Are you able to?
I'm going to be out of town.
Okay, and we're, okay, so we do have one going, and that is, who's the other one? Councilor Day, so you'll be in.
And there's no way I'm missing. I missed the last one
Yeah.
because I was in the hospital. There's no chance I'm missing this one.
Oh, I apologize. It's a work.
Yeah.
Some Thursdays I can, and some I can't. This year is really wacky with our new schedule. So, but I can't.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for checking, and then you'll have it covered, Councilor Day. Those are always very enjoyable meetings. I really like those. Okay, thank you for handling that. All right. Did we do a swap on the Greater Gubser Neighbors Association, because you have a standing conflict now with the move to Thursday? You covered that. So
He's already, yeah, the two of us are scheduled to do it already.
I can cover whatever you can't cover.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm planning, I have to go to the next one.
Okay.
I promised to bring cookies.
There we go.
I did. I don't know why, but I did.
You did, all right. That is handled. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Well, aside from cookies, what else are you doing, Councilor Herrera?
Well, okay. First of all, I want to recognize Marlena Martinez. I don't know if you read about her, but she's the young lady from Claggett Middle School who was selected to play in the All-American. By the way, she was the only select at a 12U in the area, in the Salem, Kaiser area. The only person selected. The interesting part is that 2 years ago, she went to Oklahoma because her sister had played. And she told her mom, I want to come back here. And she worked hard. Mm-hmm. So kudos to her. That's what happens when you work hard. You can achieve your dreams. But some of the things I invented, the events I participated in, and there was a lot of them. I worked with AARP. They had the Oregon Hispanic Heritage Month entitled ARP, Longevity for All, Livability and Disparities. That was on Wednesday, 29th. I was part of a panel. It was statewide. It's on YouTube, by the way. And then we did the Hispanic Latino Impact in Oregon. I was part of that panel too, and that was very interesting. We had some great folks, great comments. Last week I joined Police Chief Womack and Paige Clark, our DA over here, along with other folks with LULAC, who did a really wonderful presentation in regards to interactions with other cultures and some of the signs and stuff. And honestly, Salem does a really, they actually do a pretty good job, and they're very attentive to the changes in some of the other cultures and how they. It was all due to a certain incident that happened there where the young man was shot and killed. But those things happen. This weekend I attended the Beaver game, believe it or not, after the women's march.
I heard about that.
Anyway, the Beavers, every time I go, I've went 3 times, and they always win when I go. So The Ducks, they took second place in their game. What? I love the Red Ducks, but the team that showed up in Ohio State,
I know.
if that team shows up every time, they'll be incredible. But, I still love my Ducks, win or lose. And also, I wanted to shout out to the soccer program. They're doing really well in the Camarena. I haven't been able to go to any games just because of my schedule and other activities going on, but I really appreciate that. Last but not least, I just want to direct this to Councilor Day. I really appreciate your apology. I think that was very, from a person that has passion at times and gets carried away, I can completely understand. No, but the thing is, you apologize from the heart, and that means a lot to me, and that says a lot about you. So thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
All right, thank you very much. Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So a little different today. I actually did something this week that I thought was kind of important as we were proceeding forward with our city manager recruiting. And as I mentioned, I do recruiting for a living. That's part of my job. And one of the things that I felt like we were missing right out of the gate is that we hadn't asked our department heads what was important to them about the next city manager. So I took it upon myself and I sent an email, and thank you all for shooting back those top 3 things. I just asked 3 things, what's critical to you? And I actually put it all together. There's no names or anything, but this is just all of them compiled. There's 2 things for each one of the counselors. And I just put a thing at the top, and it says, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way, by John Maxwell. And some of the things that were on here were approachable to all staff and public. Caring, to me, caring encompasses customer service about others, and both empathy and sympathy. Ability to shape and execute the mission and vision of the city in collaboration with the city council. And the other item that I attached to this list is an article that my boss gave me a few years ago, and it is called the Taking Responsibility, the 100% Rule by Darren Hardy. I'd really encourage each counselor to take a look at page 3, the 100% Rule with teams, and spend a little time reading that last couple pages. I think it really encompasses exactly what we kind of have to approach, because I believe that when you're trying to hire someone, that individual, if they report to us, I believe that the same things that the staff listed on this list apply to us as well. And so I would just encourage you guys, I was really impressed with it, and I really want to just thank the department heads for doing this. I know you're busy and you're just having to deal with me, but I really appreciated this, and I think it's just something as we go forward to hold on to as we get into those meetings, and as we go forward trying to find the right people to help us and such, and know that everyone's doing their very best to bring forward something that's going to be the best for our entire community. So thanks for indulging me on that.
Thank you for taking the initiative to do that outreach, and I would echo thank you to every staff member who participated. We often ask the question, we want to know. This helps us in our decision making, and this is really, really valuable input for us, so thank you very much. All right, Councilor Day.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I regret to report to Councilor Herrera that this was a really bad football weekend for him, because I just got an alert that the Raiders lost. So,
ouch. But
I'm happy to report that Linfield, the number 7 team in the country in Division 3, won 56-7 up at UPS. My son's first road game, so that was pretty exciting. I want to give a shout out to Kaiser Florist. This last Saturday was homecoming at Blanchette Catholic, and my daughter and her friends, being 15-year-olds who have short attention span, did not plan on getting corsages and boutonnieres, and my wife ran down to Kaiser Florist, and they were there at closing up, and they opened up so that my wife can get some flowers and make the corsages and boutonnieres. So I really, really appreciated that. So thank you very much to Kaiser Florist. The last thing, we all emailed Tracy, I think it was, about stakeholders. And I would like to add somebody, if I may. Arturo and Olga Gloria of Latinos in Action, I think would be outstanding stakeholders. I think they'd be fantastic. And they obviously are very much invested in the community, so I'd just like to add them as well. So
Right.
that's all I have.
Great, Ed, and thank you very much. Councilor Duran. That's right, last week was your birthday. Happy
Yes.
birthday.
That's right. Thank you. I really didn't have much going on last week with this city. I've been busy and up in the canyon with other things, but my only comment is I'm not going to be here Thursday. Is there somebody that could take on the Southeast Kaiser Neighborhood Association?
Okay. Anybody have availability for Thursday evening to cover the Southeast Kaiser Neighborhood Association?
Yeah, SECNA.
I will check. I'll check.
You'll check on that?
I'll
Okay.
check. I'm not sure yet, but I'm gonna try.
Okay,
I'll check.
let me know, because I missed it last time, and I want to make sure we have somebody to cover it this time.
Who's the second on it? There's two people assigned to Southeast Kaiser.
Yeah, and I can't remember who the second is.
I should know this. Each neighborhood association has two people assigned.
It's here, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
here.
they meet here.
Do they have food?
Are you? Tell us about the cookies. So I think you two are West Kaiser.
Yeah, we're West.
You two are Gubser. Councilor Kohler, are you going to be there Thursday night for Southeast Kaiser? Aren't you the second on Southeast?
Not
Or am
to
I
my
wrong?
knowledge.
Not to your knowledge.
Mark me down for now,
Okay.
because I'm 90% sure I can pull
Okay,
it
I
off.
appreciate it.
All right. I'll have to look up who.
I still
got
owe you,
what?
by the way, for the shirt.
All right. All right, thank you. And I really appreciate all of you asking for subs when appropriate. That really helps us make sure everything's covered. Totally appreciate that. Just a couple things to add. On the 21st, the Willamette Valley Council of Governments Board met, and we had a presentation from the Homeless Alliance, which was the first in a series of legislative presentations. We're working hard as a COG, the three-county COG, to get more engagement on legislative issues where we as a three-county area can identify and then push forward with legislation that would assist us in doing our jobs as local jurisdictions. And the number one issue facing pretty much all the cities is housing and homelessness. Janet Carlson, former county commissioner and our lead consultant for the Homeless Alliance, was a presenter along with Jan Calvin and Carla Munns, the other two consultants, and I was privileged to be a part of that as well. They had a follow-up one just this last Friday on housing. I'm going to have to watch the playback on that, and I'll make sure you all have the link to it. It should be on the Council of Governments website. I was at a work thing that I was unable to attend. Thank you to Kaiser Rotary and St. Edward's and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for the community dinner on the 22nd. Always fun to see people over a meal, coffee, or just some conversation. Speaking of coffee, we had the monthly Coffee with Kathy, the September edition, and I would like to thank the regular contributors, Kaiser Fire District Board Member Betty Hart, Chariot's Board Member Ramiro Navarro, the Pastor Jose Dominguez from La Luz de Valle, and next month we'll have our regular contributor from the Chamber, Bob Shackelford, be able to join us as well. Please check that video. It is on my Facebook page, the city Facebook page, Kaiser 23, and KaiserTV.com. Let's see, what else hasn't been covered? The Salem Kaiser Area Transportation Study met on the 28th. The public participation plan has been released for public comment. Don't ask, it's a requirement. But Kim Sapinar has done a magnificent job on this plan, getting it out to people. So please go ahead and look at that. And if you have comments, please do. We had a robust discussion on the climate-friendly and equitable communities rulemaking. Shane Witham from our city staff is on that rulemaking committee. And I've talked with him and Councilor Day on what this may mean for us. because a lot of the work we've already done, not a lot. Our transportation system plan is already primarily bike ped. A lot of the land use the requirement around housing and so forth, we've either done or about to do. So we've already made a lot of progress in the areas that they're wanting to address. And I think we're in a really strong position because of the collaborative planning we've already done. But definitely going to be keeping an eye on that because we want to make sure we can continue to deliver in our planning for a very comprehensive approach to our land use and transportation. On Thursday, I had the great privilege of signing the grant application for an additional funds for our Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance youth demonstration, youth homeless demonstration program. We were offered and awarded an additional $146,400 on top of the $3.7 million we've already been awarded. This is going to be for planning. So it's going to allow us to pull some of the planning out of what is in that $3.7 million, dedicate funds for that. That's going to help with our youth advisory board called Backbone to be able to offer them and continue to pay for the stipends to build our staff in a more robust manner and to be able to really throw everything at the effort to spend the $3.7 million in a very targeted way to deliver services long-term for our youth to end homelessness among our youth and young adults. So very excited for that opportunity. And again, it would not have happened if we hadn't started 5 years ago to ask the question, what can we do? Because what we're doing isn't working. Fast forward to where we are now, and we are hitting on more and more cylinders all the time. And this was a testament to that collaboration that we have. I was very happy to say, yes, please put my signature on that. The Kaiser Rapids Park cleanup was on Saturday in collaboration with the Willamette River Keepers. Thank you to the 29 volunteers that showed up. Some of us were slogging our way along the riverfront on the sandbar and gravel areas. And then some people were on the river. They are the ones that made the big haul, the huge truckload of stuff that they pulled in. And our environmental division was out there, volunteers from Keizer and Salem, the river keepers. It's a great collaboration, and state parks. And they said, can we do more of this? And I said, oh, absolutely, yes, please. So they want to collaborate with us again. We were the kickoff for the Great Willamette Cleanup that's going to be happening all month along the Willamette River. Thank you to everybody who showed up. Just coming up real quick, we're going to have, there's an open house. I'm going to forward this to you, Councilor Dave, for Traffic Safety Bike Ped. There's a virtual open house for the Bike Ped Strategic Project Fund list. It's the 150% list at o.openhouse.org/pedestrian-and-bicycle-strategic. Don't add plan because it's not on the website.
Is that different than the 125 list?
It is different than 125 list, yeah. By 25%.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
It's a process, and you add all the acronyms on top and it's even more fun. On the 12th, the Homeless Alliance Executive Board will meet. We have moved the date because that is when we close the applications for the HUD grant applications for the continuum of care. If there are any concerns or appeals, the Executive Board acts as the appeals committee for those grant applications. Again, the Homeless Alliance is the collaborative applicant there. So bring more money into our region to address homelessness and housing. Awesome. On the 12th, then we have the Heritage Foundation Board. Councilor Reed and I will be there. And on MWAC, oh, that's this week, the Mid-Willamette Valley Area Commission on Transportation. And that was where they're going to be announcing that virtual open house for Bike Ped. So that is what I've got going on. Did we forget anything? Let's go to agenda input. All right, so next Monday we meet at 6 p.m. on October 11th, and we will be talking about the community engagement involvement. On the 18th, we will meet at 7 p.m. in regular session. On the 25th, we will have our long-range planning task Forest will meet and discuss the ARPA, the American Recovery and Prosperity Act, or is that close enough? ARPA. That starts at 6 p.m. And on November 1st, we'll meet in regular session. We now know that on the 8th of November, we will meet, we will have a work session on the Parks Master Plan. Woo! And then going on to the calendar for the December 13th will be a work session on the council rules and procedures. By the ways. Yes, Councilor Day.
Is the October 25th meeting, is that in person or is it by Zoom?
Good question. Mr. Wood, that's a big group.
I believe it's yet to be determined at this point.
Okay. So stand by one on that. Okay, good question.
ARPA one, October 25th.
Right, because it's the entire budget committee of 14. Okay. So, yeah, let us know what the rules look like, and we'll figure it out from there. All right, is there anything else for the good of the order? Seeing none, the time is 9:01. We are adjourned.
Yes, sir.